Yeah. BEETV Productions, the Cultural Preservation Station. Tune in. Tune in. Hey yo. Black education, cultural preservation. Tailor BEETV, but cause elevation. Tune into the station, we rockin' the whole nation. That's right, we rockin' the whole nation. Prep the new generation for mental activation. Tailor BEETV's the new sensation. Stop the hesitation and learn something new. My girl Taylor B's here to show and prove.
Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. I want to welcome you to BEETV. I am your host, Taylor B, and you are tuned into Justice on Earth, the podcast study where we examine injustices across all 11 areas of activity. We do that by utilizing the 70 cultural ascension principles. Okay, I want to thank you for being here. I want to welcome back all the subscribers to BEETV. If you are new to the channel, I want to thank you so much for being here. Please make sure you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you don't miss any content that we have coming up for you. I am very excited for the show that we have tonight. We haven't been here on Justice on Earth in a couple months now, been very busy with some of the other podcasts, but I am so happy to bring a very special guest tonight. So I am going to go ahead and let us know a little bit more about him. So I'm going to read his bio, and then I'm going to end up bringing him up on the stage. So let's learn about our guest today, Cool Colas. He is a self-published author, a speaker, a comic book creator, an activist, and a pro-Black media analyst. He's originally from the state of Michigan. He uses his platform, Cool Colas LLC, to provide an intricate examination of the current climate of entertainment media and its impact on Black society. He is the creator of the Cool Colas brand, a trusted pro-Black media platform used to educate, empower, and entertain Black society as a whole. He uses this platform to also produce authentic Black content while also enriching the minds of like-minded Blacks and those willing to learn how to embrace pro-Blackness. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my brother on the stage. Welcome back to BEETV, Cool Colas. Welcome back, King.
How you doing? How you doing? I'm glad to be here.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm happy to have you back. You've been on the platform at least once.
Yeah.
I think I was on your platform a couple times and we went back and forth. So
yep,
happy to have you back here. So how have you been and how is your wife doing?
Oh, first of all, I've been good. She's been doing great. It's been real busy over here. I've been trying to get a lot of different things together, but as far as like health, how I'm doing, I'm good.
Good. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm so excited to have you here because you just know that we have a lot of the same views on these things.
Yep.
So before we get started, I want people to know because you are an author and you're many things, but you're an author, and I think that's one of your greatest passions. And I want you to talk about a little bit about your background growing up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I want you to discuss with the people about your path and how your upbringing, how it affected you on your path, because you speak of being a Earth Cool Colas 1 and an Earth Cool Colas 2. So I want you to talk to us about your upbringing and talk to us about those two paths and what led you to go on that path of Cool Colas 2. Earth Cool Colas 2.
Yeah, most definitely. I noticed the reference. What I was gonna say is, actually, you probably didn't know this, but I'm actually from the Detroit area. I just lived in Kalamazoo. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So as far as growing up, I grew up in a mostly Black neighborhood. I grew up in this city called Oak Park. It's a suburb that's in the Detroit area. So I didn't really have like a lot of knowledge about history growing up, but I did go to a Black elementary school, and I guess you could consider it a middle school as well too. But for me, like I always wanted to know more about Black culture because I got to a point where, you know, when I was in high school, I was going more to like private schools. I went to a private Catholic all boys school actually when I was in high school. So for me, I was,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, I felt like more so detached from understanding my history. You know, I had my passion in writing, of course, like at that time. That was the subject I was best at when I was in school. But you know, as I got older, I started having certain experiences and you know, dealt with racism at a job, dealt with racism actually when I was younger too, when I went back and analyzed some of the stuff that I've been through. And after a while, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to understand not just what happened to me, but what's going on from a global standpoint. So I got
Mm-hmm.
more into doing the work because I've done civil rights work as well too. And at a certain point, I got to a point where I wanted to create a platform where I was able to talk about issues that were related to Black people exclusively. And what I learned from my experience was, although I had the upbringing that I had, I still dealt with a lot of racism. It taught me that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I could be taken out of a situation where, you know, maybe I'm not provided for the best. I'm not in the best neighborhood or quote unquote best, whatever you want to call that, and still I deal with racism just like any other Black person. So for me, I wanted to create something that was empowering. I wanted to create something that would help people to identify some of the or not just the anti-Blackness that happens to them, but how it's global and how everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's dope. And I really like the way that you referenced it in the book.
Hmm.
Um, that how, like certain events and like after like encountering certain events, it made you start realizing this. It made you start saying, hey, why don't I know about this history and why don't I do this? So it kind
Yeah.
of that's what led you down that path. Now, you said you did some civil rights work. Talk
Yep.
about that. What kind of work were you doing with that?
Most definitely. So I have like almost a decade's worth of experience in civil rights work.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like housing investigations and things like that. So I'm like
Mm-hmm.
I've done enforcement work. But a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm able to kind of look at the stuff that I talk about when it comes to media from the same like framework. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of how I'm able to identify patterns of anti-Blackness is based off of the same way that I have to identify patterns in the work that I do that's based in civil rights. So for me, it was a pretty easy nexus, and it kind of helped with me identifying it because it's so easy to just get examples of where we are targeted as Black people and really as foundational Black Americans, especially. So
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of that experience that I had, I was able to kind of use as a transferable type of thing. You know, they call it transferable skills now, and you know,
Yes.
used it with what I do.
Well, and those are invaluable skills.
Hmm.
I mean, and you even talk about that in the book. You talk about, as a whole, as a people, things that we can do for solutions. And a lot of those things that say are when you are working in corporate America or just in any space, try to gain as many skills as you can
Yep.
and something that you want to do outside of that that you can transfer out of that.
Mhm.
So for instance, if the job offers like certain training classes or certain certificates, take advantage of those things because you
Yep.
can use those things to build your own empire outside of that.
Hmm. That's right.
Mhm.
I think it's important for people to, whenever they're on a job, to use it as an apprenticeship because a lot of
Mhm.
times, like people will be there, they're just trying to get their money and they're just trying to go. But I believe that we should be taking that a step forward. We should really be looking at what things can we acquire while we're there. You know what I mean? Like even if it could be the most basic thing. Let's say that you're a tax preparer, like you work at an H&R Block or that type of thing. That could be a
Mhm.
skill that you could learn how to do taxes, and then maybe you're doing taxes for people who are like in your area or community or whatever. But yeah, you need those skills so that you can create something, you know, powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's important because I was talking about it. I did a live last night to kind of discuss this show and other
Yeah.
shows that we have coming up. And
Mhm.
I was kind of saying, it's important to do that because, it, it's 2025. Like it's no more begging for a seat at anyone's table.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
we're not begging for a seat at anyone's table. we are the table, you know, so we got to bring ourselves to the table and be the table.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, you know, then once you are the table, now people want to come sit at your table.
Yep.
You know, we know that we drive the culture with a lot of the trends, and a lot of the things that we do is what drives the culture
Mm-hmm.
globally. So, you know, once we take that stand and make our own table, you know, people are going to be knocking the door down to come back to our table, because as it is now, when we do little, even with the Target blackout that they did, I know
Yeah,
not everyone was doing it, but enough people were doing it where it hurt Target's pockets.
it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Yeah, so if enough of us, you know, continue to do that, and like you said, use these jobs as apprenticeships, because and
Mhm.
then not only that, we know how we're treated at most of these jobs.
Oh yeah.
You're treated. Let me see what that thing is that one of my friends, what did she call it? I wish she was watching and she could put it in. I think she called it it's some term. I gotta see what it is, but it's basically a term um where they disempower you but give you a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Like you're disempowered, but you have all of this responsibility. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're caught between a rock and a hard place at these corporate jobs.
Most definitely. I think that what people need to understand is that there's going to be more to navigate than just doing well on the job itself when you are
Right.
black, especially when you're FBA. And a lot of times
Mhm.
you'll have a lot of different types of people who are going to try to target you when you are on these types of jobs. And what a
Mhm.
lot of people believe too is that, you know, everything is going to be smooth sailing and gravy and whatever because they got a college degree, whatever the case may be. They get to the job and they realize that racism is still a factor that can affect them. You know, it's important to understand that you're going to enemy territory whenever you're going into one of these jobs, and there's a certain understanding that you have to have of how you should behave while you're there, what you should do if you
Mhm.
are targeted, attacked, whatever the case may be. And you also should understand what your purpose is in being at that job. What is it that you're trying to get out of it? And then what is your
Mhm.
next move? These are things that you should be planning out constantly.
Do you think that because you talk about it in your book a lot, like how the older
Mhm.
generations have failed us in certain aspects, do you
Yeah.
think that this is part of one of those aspects? Because I feel like, you know, just in general, like we're not really taught. Well, I know for me, I'll speak for myself, and I think I could probably speak for you a little bit because you allude to it in the book. We're
Mhm.
not really taught about racism.
Yeah. Right.
We're not taught that, like, when you go out there, you're gonna, you know, this is gonna happen to you at the job. Like, it's kind of like you figure it out by an experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or you have all these different experiences and then you end up figuring it out on your own.
Mhm.
Speak about that. Speak about the
Yeah.
failure of the last generation to kind of guide us in
Mhm.
that way. I mean, I talk to my daughter. I mean, I know you don't have kids, you and your wife don't have kids
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that's coming soon, it better. But um, you know, I have a daughter and I talk to her about, like, she gets sick of me saying it because I'm so much telling her
Yeah.
and talking to her about being foundational Black American,
Yep.
about the differences that she will see within the diaspora and
Mhm.
in, you know, within the dominant society. So I'm always constantly reminding her of who she is and how people are going to treat her when she gets out there. And it's not to victimize her, give her a victim mindset. It's
Mhm.
to prepare her, because I was not prepared. And
Yeah.
I grew up in, so I grew, and I'm not, I know you're going to answer, but you know, I'm going to tell you, I grew up in a Black neighborhood
Yeah.
within a white society. So
Yeah.
we were a Black neighborhood enclave within a greater white society, and then we all go to school. It's
Mhm.
mostly predominantly a white school.
Yeah.
So, you know, growing up in that atmosphere, I was not prepared for any of that. And then, like you said, you don't really realize what it is until you get to a certain age. And
Mhm.
then you see, oh, that's what that is. That's what I was experiencing. So talk about the failure of the older generations to kind of teach that to at least our generation, and as far back as you want to take it.
Absolutely. So I want to answer your initial question, and that
Okay.
basically was Do I believe that the older generation, specifically we're talking about the old Negroes, the civil rights generation, do they play a role in the whole you're at the job, don't know what you're doing and whatnot? Do they play a role in all that? The answer is absolutely. They're the main reason why you're there, to be quite honest with you. So let me elaborate on that. The reason why most of us are in the workplace, period, just let's not even think about the racism factor yet, just being there, is because of them. And the main reason why is because a lot of them have a certain mindset where they care about reaping the benefits of white society. And as a result, they pass that mentality onto their kids. So they believe in this idea of achieving the American dream and being able to have racial sexual access and all this other stuff, right? And as a result, they train you or teach you, and I'm using that term lightly because they really teach you too much of shit, to be honest with you. They teach you. I'm using that real lightly, but they do that to basically make it seem like they gave you a pathway to some level of success, or at least that American dream, achieving it. So a lot of them don't have a plan for you. And this is something that brother Jason Black has actually talked about, and I agree with him 100%. He said it a little differently than I said it, but we're basically saying the same thing. What happens a lot of times is they will go in making it seem like, oh, well, they sent you to college because they wanted to prepare you for your future and all sorts of stuff. But what they're really deflecting from is the fact that they don't have a plan for you, and they never did. They never have started business. They don't have businesses that they can pass down. They don't have generational wealth that they can pass down. They don't have any like type of investments that they can pass down. Now, some people may be able to cherry pick and, get into my family did this, my family, they get into all that. But the reality is that the majority of us do not have that. And that's why Dr. Claude Anderson has said before that we are an economic underclass. It's because of the way that, we've thought about this type of stuff, at least older generations have, and the way that they have neglected to give us what we needed. So as a result, they basically said, we're going to send everybody to college. You all figure it out once you get there. And then what we did was try to get jobs and work for the same people who hate us, who to a certain extent, a lot of them knew that they hated us. They just instilled the same mindset, that they had with themselves within us. And then out of selfishness, they didn't, like I said, create anything for us to reap the benefits from. And so as a result, we're just navigating the workspace and trying to figure out how we can get wealth for ourselves. But then on top of that, they didn't also give you tools to navigate being in the workspace either. And one thing I do want to talk about real quick, sis. So there is this thing, and I talked about this in my book, that they implement. It's what I would call the Black Promised Land agenda. So Black Promised Land agenda is this idea that they can almost hit the jackpot on their kids. So yeah, they may have been a failure. Yeah, they may not have went to college. They may not have did this. They may not have built a business. They may not have did that. But they're going to bank on their kid possibly going to college and then bringing money back to be able to help the family. Really, they mean themselves, but to help the family. And so the worst of them will do is they'll have like, certain kids become athletes and then try to get a scholarship, become a star athlete. And then because they were there cheering them on, they'll come and they'll bring that money back to the family. Now, I'm not knocking, parents who do have some level of, stake in trying to get their kids to be successful. But what I'm saying is that I think that they didn't have a plan from the get-go, so they're taking a gamble, and they're hoping that they reach the Black Promised Land because their kid will do it since they failed at doing it for their kid.
Right. So I think that's interesting, and I think sometimes, you speak of this, and they send a kid to college. A lot of them plan this from the start with the kid.
Oh yeah.
They know they have a boy. They put them in the basketball leagues and the football leagues and all that kind of stuff growing up, and they invest a lot of money in them and put a lot of pressure on them to go do those things. And I think it's really, it's sad because, like you said, it's like they're only doing it really for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
So you can come back and uplift and help the family out.
Mm-hmm.
Which would nothing be wrong with that, but that's not the way to go.
Exactly.
Like, because at the end of the day, that can run out, that person can get hurt. Like, what is the real plan?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all good if people have talent and they can play sports, because a lot of our people, let's face it, this is our land. So
Yeah.
no, we've been the ones playing sports on this land for a long time, and entertaining people and all of that stuff. We have all of these natural gifts, skills, and abilities. So we're very prevalent in the entertainment industry,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes sports and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like some parents, the only hope that they give the child is to be a rapper or a ball player, or entertainment in the entertainment industry. I think that's sad because we are the smartest people, looking at all of the inventions that we did in the golden age of invention,
Mm-hmm.
and being the most group that invented the most outside of England and Germany during
Mm-hmm.
that time. And that's huge. And I always say, if we add in the inventions that they stole, we would have been surpassed those people too. We would have surpassed those countries. But no other immigrant group has invented more than Black Americans during that golden age of invention.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're super smart. So why not, if you're going to send a kid to college, like you said, send them to get skills so they can see. But that's the mindset we're at.
Yep.
Our mindset's not to come back to enhance the community and build in the community so we can make jobs for people in the community.
Yep.
The mindset is for self. What do
Mm-hmm.
you think about that? That self mindset versus community mindset?
I think that that's the reason why we're dealing with the Samboism that we have now, to be honest with you. I think it's instilled in the minds of their kids. And that's why we have to try to find people who are like-minded and people who are on code. We have to find people who want to build with us and want to create things with us. And it's not even just this thing of hustle, because there's a lot of us who are talented, not even just like foundational Black Americans, but even Black people in the diaspora. There's a lot of us who are talented, right? A lot of Black people globally, but it's all
Right.
about, the way that you want to build with each other and the way that you were brought up. A lot of us were brought up in the mindset of just getting ours and that was it. But we have to be able to make a change. The thing is that with a lot of our parents and whatnot, I'm going to talk about the civil rights generation specifically. A lot of them, if you this is the biggest piece of pushback that I get, whenever I talk about holding the book up, I see
People to go by. We're gonna be talking about that all night. Go ahead.
Yeah, most definitely. The biggest piece of pushback that I get is that oh well, it's in the past. What can you do now? Let's not focus on what they didn't do. Let's focus on what we can do now. That's the biggest piece of pushback I get every time I talk about this topic. Or no, sorry. The second biggest piece. The biggest piece that I get is you're disrespecting your elders.
Yes.
So I want to tackle those two things. The first problem is that when we talk about disrespect, I think that's one of the problems that the Black community in general has, this idea that challenging people who have done things that are off code is equated to disrespect. Those two things are not the same. And that's why eventually I want to get into talking more about how we can communicate better and just discern things better. But that's a whole nother subject for another day. But my point is that that's one of the pieces of pushback that we get. We need to literally call out when someone is sambooing, no matter what age they are. I don't care if you're 20. I don't care if you're 40. I don't care if you're 80. If you were sambooing, you were sambooing, and it needs to be called out. Now, the next thing that I would say is that the other piece of pushback we get is that this was in the past. But what I've been learning over the years is that this is actually still going on in the present, because look at how a lot of these old Negroes are today. A lot of them just want to pray to God for a better tomorrow. And politically, they're like, y'all needs to vote for them Democrats because they's going to save you from them big bad Republicans. Like, it's the same thing. Like, it's the same song and dance every time there's an election. So you can see that they still have this mindset even in 2025, not just, back when we were going to college and high school and all that. So that's really the problem. It's deep rooted even till today.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's really deep. And I think, and I'll just touch on when you said, Black people we have a problem with this word disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of the times we allow that to, overtake our emotions in
Yeah.
certain ways that make us lose things, because you get too emotional and then you outburst with emotion because you feel like someone's disrespecting you.
Mm-hmm.
But people can disagree with you without disrespecting you. You
Yeah.
know, the only way that you can move forward sometimes is when you have disagreements, because you have to
Mm-hmm.
find a common ground, a common road, and really listen to both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So, I think we really have to come away from, feeling like someone's disrespecting you because they don't agree with everything you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
This is a part of having a discussion with an adult person. You may
Yeah.
disagree with some things, and I think we have not learned that as as a people. I
Mm-hmm.
think we take a lot of things very personally.
Yeah.
um we take a lot of stuff personal. And I think, it's I can see it's warranted. We've been through a lot, but with each other we have to give each other that grace, because I feel like we'll
Mhm.
give people outside of our culture that grace quicker than we will each other.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And it's like, just like Nelly Fuller said, rest in peace.
Yeah. Of
We
course.
walk down the street and we're like, what they looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Who they looking at? And like, we do that with each other, but we don't do that to other people outside of our culture,
Yeah. For sure.
you know?
Yeah.
So what do you think that is? I mean, do you think that's just like our post-traumatic syndrome? Do you think that's a part of just the indoctrination and programming of us to interact with each other that way?
Yeah, it's a mix of everything you just said. There's the Stockholm syndrome thing, and there's also internalized racism. I mean, like,
Mhm,
it's just customary that the dominant society makes Black people, especially foundational Black Americans, just a punching bag for society. So anytime that we have some type of issue, especially even if it's like not something that we cause, it's always our fault. It always goes
mhm,
back to, Weeze is our worst enemy. Like, we get into all that babble and all that nonsense and
mhm,
bullshit. And the reason
mhm,
why I think it's like that is because they've kind of taught us to kind of behave in that way, where we see ourselves as the problem within our own community. A lot of the stuff that we think and that we do has been taught to us and has been ingrained in us. And one of the big things that has been a good source of kind of reshaping the way that we see ourselves is media. That's the reason why I really wanted to talk about entertainment and how white supremacy affects it. And there's a lot of anti-Black racism in it, because a lot of the images that
mhm,
you see, even when they're subtle, are shaping the way that we actually see ourselves in a certain
mhm.
light. And I think that whole thing really needs to be unpacked, because a lot of us we really want to appease white society. There's like a desire for white acceptance. So
Yes.
there's a lot of self-deprecation as a result of wanting to appease them, because that's something we know that they have done and how they've portrayed us historically. So I think
Mhm,
it's internalized racism more than anything.
mhm. So it's like we do that to each other to kind of please master.
Oh yeah, it's
That's
so there's a new thing I came up with, sis. I gotta tell you about real quick.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
there's a thing I've been noticing, and this is kind of something I observed from, like, when I was on Instagram, and I'll post some reels and I'll kind of look at the responses to certain things I'll talk about. Recently, I made a reel talking about how in WWE there's a wrestler on there, and dude is
I
Samoan,
watched
right?
that.
Okay,
Mhm,
you
go
watched
ahead.
that. And
Mhm,
there was a big thing where he basically was saying nigga in one of his songs. And so I called it out, and I said, like, a lot of times these, Polynesians, Samoans, whatever you want to talk about, they are trying to emulate, Black culture, and WWE gives them a platform where they can try to cosplay us. And so when I was, making this reel, I noticed that a lot of the comments of people disapproving of this they were Black, but they was a lot of tether energy. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was a lot of tether energy, but it was a lot of Black people. And what I noticed is that a lot of them were saying, well, that's not true. The Samoans, they cool. They care about Black culture. They care about us, blah, blah, blah. Some of them have even gone as far to say that they're part of the Black diaspora. Now, tell me this. When the hell have Samoans been a part of the damn Black diaspora? Like, that's some new shit to me. I ain't never heard of that. You know what I mean?
So I never heard of that either.
Yeah. So this is stuff I'm talking about. They get into this thing that I would call the Sambo pick-meism agenda. Now, this is something that a lot of people have not talked about, but this is a term that I'm using. Sambo pick-meism is this idea where you think about your acceptance as almost like a currency. The more that you buck dance for the white supremacists, the more that can afford you opportunities and other things, by that society, because they see that you're a willing puppet for them, even to the point where you'll lie or disrespect or besmirch Black society in ways that just are not warranted and are not deserved. And a lot of times they'll be when we actually speak up about things that are disrespectful. So I noticed that there's this big Sambo pick-me agenda where a lot of times they'll go around and they'll start, trying to explain for either like these tethers who will go around and cosplay us, or just the white supremacists. And so I call it that because a lot of them really just want to be picked. A lot of them want to be like in a position like a Candace Owens, where they can get a platform, they can start talking about us real greasy, and then they can make a whole bunch of money from it and then go about their day. So a lot of them are looking for those types of opportunities, and that's a big deal.
That's a big deal, and that's been going on because that's why we have those people like the Candace Owens and different people like that.
Yeah.
And also people throughout the entertainment industry, not just like podcasts, but just, some of the artists and, some of the actors and all that kind of stuff. They're paid to do certain things. And like we said before, we already know a lot of the rappers have come out and said that they pay you to be as ignorant as you can be.
Yep.
On the track. And that's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just putting down your own people to sit next to someone that don't want you next to them anyway.
Exactly.
So I don't understand. I never understood it, but I think, it's the trinkets. It's those damn trinkets.
Yeah.
And, it's been happening, for over 500 years, and it's old and it's tired. And it's like, at some point, we have got to come up out of this. Now, I want to ask you before we get into the entertainment and talk about the tropes, because I'm going to ask you about that a little bit.
Of course.
But I want you right now to explain to the people watching, what does it mean to be on code? So what does that mean to you?
Definitely. So being on code means that you are following a set of rules and behaviors, exhibiting behaviors that exemplify that you want to connect and stay connected with like-minded Black people who want to build something together. So that's the simplified version of it. Now, this set of rules, everybody kind of is going to differ a little bit on it, but there's basic things that you would do and basic things that you would not do. First of all, one of the things is that you should make Black people a priority. That's the whole point of pro-Blackness. Being on code and being pro-Black are things that are kind of go hand in hand with one another. Another thing too is that you should do and make efforts to create things that are empowering for Black people. Again, that's making it a priority, but it's more about the building aspect versus just the idea of considering Black people. It's more about building stuff for Black people. Another thing that's important when it comes to being on code is the language that you use, your vernacular, the way that you speak about the community. And that means that you shouldn't speak down on Black people, especially when you're in non-Black spaces. Now, you can talk about certain concepts and stuff like that, but you shouldn't use platforms that are given to you by the dominant society to speak greasy about us. So those are just certain things. I could keep going on and on. There's more rules, obviously, but the main point is that you follow a set of rules to create and maintain unity within like-minded codified people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love how you broke it down. I like how you broke it down in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You gave it like a body. You gave it an outline as to like the main things that you should be doing and that you shouldn't be doing. I mean, of course, there's going to be variations, but I think you hit it on the nose. The main thing is it's B1, so it's Black first.
Yep.
It's protecting Black people. If you see them being victimized or beaten or whatever by non-Blacks,
Mm-hmm.
and it's building for the community for Black people to have safe spaces,
Mm-hmm.
also building in the communities where we can give back to the community by hiring other Black people in
Mm-hmm.
those stores and those developments that we built, because this is how we can start building that generational wealth and circulating that dollar within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, like you said from before, this table, we can't keep begging for a seat at people's table. And I
Exactly.
was talking about like if you Black man in America, if you don't have any type of skills, you're not going to get hired by anybody. Like they don't want, first of all, they don't want you there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not an effeminate Black male or a gay Black male, you're not welcome.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
just not welcome in corporate America. You're not welcome in retail spaces. They deem you as, like monstrous or whatever
Yeah, yeah.
for lack of a better term. So it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
we got to make our own. That's why we have to build our own stuff and hire our own people. Like, I don't want us begging for other people to hire us and all
Yeah.
of this kind of stuff. Or when we do get hired, like you said, learn those skills, bring them back to the community. So we can build this up. I mean,
Most
and that's really, to me, I think that's the main thing that we should be doing. What do you
definitely.
think?
I agree 100%. And I think the other thing too is, and this is really important, this is something that people miss. I think people like to just support something because it's Black. Like, I support everything. Like, how they always say the little Issa Rae saying, I support everybody Black. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't. I support
Right.
people who are on code. So in other
Right.
words, you may not say anything that's off code, right? But if I notice that you're saying something that's off code, I'm going to call attention to it. I think that we need to have people who are not just creating things that are powerful, not just supporting each other and whatnot, but people who literally have these actual values. Not people who are like really sambos with a business and won't do anything for
Yes.
the community, but people who actually care about Black people. That's the thing that's really important with that. We have to keep that in mind, that we have to vet the people who we're supporting as well too.
And I think that's so important because, like you said, I mean, if the people aren't on code, then what are you doing for? You might as well just go support the normal dominant society, because
Exactly.
I mean, it's like you're taking it outside of your own community anyway.
Exactly.
So it's very hard, and there's a lot of things that we do have to discern through.
Yeah.
And you talk about discernment a lot in your book, and compartmentalization. And
Yeah.
that's something that I think as Black people, that's a skill that we like. It's imperative that we have that skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
No doubt.
because of all the things that we go through. And I think more
Mm-hmm.
for foundational Black Americans, because not only are we fighting the dominant society, oftentimes we're fighting other non-whites or others in the diaspora.
Yeah.
So, I think it's very important for us to have that understanding. And that's why that's part of the thing that we got. We have to make those discernments, like who's on code, who's not on code.
Yep.
And I want to tell a story before we get into your entertainment, and
Yeah.
talking
Go
about the
ahead.
entertainment and tropes.
Yeah.
So I work at a hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the nurses that I work with, I'm really cool with her. She is foundational Black American, and she's very intelligent, like super intelligent, super, on the top of her game,
Yeah.
and a great nurse and all that kind of stuff. Smart, and she was working, I guess, on with one of the nurses on the floor or whatever. And I'm in my cubicle. I overhear her, I overhear her, like, she starts like talking big shit, right?
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, what is going on? What is going on? So I hear her saying, like, who does she think she is saying that to me? That was derogatory to say to me. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, who said something to you? Because she at BA, so I'm like, who's fucking with you? Like, we about to get them. You know what I mean? Like, who did that? Like, because I'm coming to help you.
Yeah.
So I walk over to her and I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, who are you talking about? And she goes to me, don't you know, she tells me Kukolas that one of the nurses on the floor said to her, oh, you Black Americans always getting education. You don't need no more education. Don't you got enough education? You don't need no more education. Now, this was an African nurse that said this to her. Now, you tell me what that is. Well, I know what it is, but I'm gonna let you say what that is. And my thing is, this is why we are delineating. This is why. But go ahead, brother. I'm gonna let you comment on that story.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, she was tethering, plain and simple.
Yes.
She was tethering. Because the thing about it is that this should be a thing where we are able to have our African, Caribbean, etc. brothers and sisters over here in America, and we work amongst each other. Now, don't get me wrong.
Each other, right? Work together. Work together.
Yeah. Work together. Yep. And there are some writers. Don't get me wrong. There's some writers, but I think that a lot of the people who are in the diaspora, there's a lot of tetherism that comes over. There's like a vitriol in a certain energy and behavior that comes when they get around a lot of Black Americans and a lot of employment situations, and then obviously media reveal a lot of that that hateful spirit that a lot of them have. I will say that I have some partners who I kind of work with on a lot of my content and stuff like that. Here, especially in the Blur community, right? And one of them was telling me, and he's a writer. He's Haitian, but he's a writer, and he was telling me that before his growing up, his parents when they came from Haiti to America and whatnot, they had a lot of smoke for Black Americans and whatnot, and they were trying to teach him to think about us the exact same way. Now, he didn't really see the value in disrespecting Black Americans, and he understood that we did a lot, our ancestors had done so much to try to get them to even come over here in the first place. So he really wasn't rocking with his parents and what he had said, right? So it's interesting because it's customary that a lot of them will have that spirit, and the reason why is because a lot of their parents, see, they got old Negroes too. They got old Negroes as well, and their old Negroes have this idea of talking about us in a disrespectful way. And even when they have wins, they actually delineate themselves, because if they become a doctor, you'll see them say, I'm the first Haitian American doctor of my family, the first Ghanaian American. It's to the point where they don't even want you to know that they're Black whatsoever. They done went
right. So they only delineate when it's useful for them to.
Exactly.
When they're here to get the resources that we worked for, they don't do that because it's, oh, I'm Black. Yep. But when it comes time, when, like you said, when it's something good, then there's delineation, and they delineate anyway, because, and it's nothing wrong with that. I think they should. Everyone should be proud of their own culture, but it's always a problem when we're proud of ours and people want to talk crap about us and basically be like, oh, you shouldn't be saying that. You should be. Why not? Why can't we be proud of our culture? Y'all's waving y'all's flag. Why can't we wave our Black American flag?
Exactly.
That you see right there. Why can't we wave our flag? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's a problem when we do it, and this is the problem that I have. I love, all melanated people. I love us. You know what I mean? I love us. I'm very global. I'm very humanitarian, bro. But at the end of the day, I'm not stupid, and I see the ignorance that is sometimes brought over by our people. They come over here and they and I don't know if they're given a handbook or a brochure by the society before they come to say this, Like, don't mess with them. Don't do this. I don't know if they're giving a brochure of stereotypes against us.
They might be.
I think they might be giving a brochure about. Listen, how come they all know? They all say the same ones, and they all know them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll further that to say, I think they're given that brochure, and I
Mm-hmm.
think if they don't follow it, then they don't get a part to be a piece of, like the loans and stuff. But follow it. Okay, here's your own store. You just can't hire none of them. Only hire your people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that they are given that. I think it was contingent upon them being allowed to come here, because you can't tell me that all these people that came, first of all, you can't tell me that you didn't know that if it wasn't for the work that we did, you would be in this country.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, you wasn't allowed to come here.
Most definitely.
So now we got you here, and this is how you act. So it's just like, and it's not all of them, it's not everyone, but there is a class of people who look down on us when they come here. And I encounter them almost every day, but it's crazy to me. So go ahead, bro. I know you want to comment.
Yeah, there's another thing I wanted to say, because you were asking my opinion on that situation. The other thing that we as foundational Black Americans need to start getting really good at is when we're at these jobs and scurvy shit is being done to us while we're there, racist shit, anti-Black shit, matter whether it's from the white supremacists or whether it's from a tether, we need to start lawyering up, get your stuff documented, get all the evidence on the things that they're doing and that they're saying, because it's inappropriate to be, be a nurse and, be in a doctor's office, hospital, whatever. And then you got, somebody talking shit about you because of your national origin, because that's the claim right there. That's discriminatory.
Yeah, you Black Americans, don't y'all have enough education?
Yeah, that's
what y'all don't have. Y'all must not have enough talking like that. You ain't got enough of the correct education talking like that to somebody.
Exactly. And that's why I said we got to start getting strategic when they do stuff, because they'll do little slick stuff like that. And us, like, either one, being in our feelings and being like, hey, we got to fight back because they said something to us, or two, us just, not really knowing how all that works. We won't do anything about it. And we're leaving money right there on the table because somebody says something. Now, I'm not saying go up in jobs and just wait for somebody to say something so you can like lawyer up, because that's something that you shouldn't have to do. You're only doing that because of a hostile environment that has treated you like shit because of your race. You know what I mean? The other thing I do want to say this real quick too. I want to kind of go back to something that you talked about earlier. You asked me about like going from Earth 1 Cool Colas to Earth 2 Cool Colas. At a certain point, one thing I noticed is that looking back at some of my past experiences, I was doing exactly what I had just described. If there were acts of racism,
I've done it too, bro. Me too. I mean? But go ahead.
If it was racist stuff that was going on, or if I was being treated a certain way, or I was experiencing anti-Blackness, my big thing was to fight back, say something back, snap back at people, and that's, to a certain extent, that's a part of our culture. And I understand that, but sometimes we got to be strategic, keep our mouth shut, and then look at how this could turn into a bag. Because if you're at a, you know what I mean? Like, because I look back, like, and I'll tell you this, sis, like on a serious note, I have never been to a job, or I wouldn't say never. And this is the reason why I say this. I've only been to one job ever where I did not experience any form of racism. Every other job that I have had in my life, I've experienced racism to some extent. And so looking back, I'm looking at that and I'm like, there's so many times that I had a claim because this person said this, or they said that to me, or they try to make some type of joke towards my race or something like that. And I could have got them. But instead, what I wanted to do was fight back and get snappy with the person, or whatever the case may be. All I needed to do was document all that shit, send it to a lawyer, and boom, I got your ass.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not, and you know what? I think the problem too with that is, bro, a lot of us, we don't think that way because we don't think that we can do that.
Right.
See, we're so in the business of doubting ourselves because we've been doubted so long. So there's certain things that when we get into certain situations, sometimes we don't know how to react, because just like we have been, just like how we have been like cut out of the resources on the land. We've also been cut out of resources as far as educational resources, as far as suing people and getting lawyers for things, and legal matters. Just we be scared of the law. We hear lawyer, we might get scared of that, some of us. So I think a lot of us have a fear of doing things like that. And we also might think that, even if we do it, like no one's going to listen to us, no one's going to believe us. Because I have had those same, I have been through a lot of things, with work and stuff like that. And there's been times where I did report it and I tried to do things and all that, and it just didn't work out. And I'm just like, I'm little old me. How am I going to win against this big, bad, white dominant society, entity? How can you win against that?
Most definitely. I was gonna say, and that's why people always say document everything. They should tell you how to do it, but you got to document everything and then be ready to, have your case together and whatnot. The one thing I do want to say, though, to your point, I think a lot of it, sis, to be honest with you, is that a lot of us just really don't know. I think that if you don't have a good teacher, you don't have somebody who's giving you the game, this is where the old niggas come in, then you're just gonna go in blind, just doing whatever, because you don't know what you don't know. So a lot of us are navigating it in the best way that we do know. If we're taught as a culture, hey, if somebody is snapping at you, you snap back at them, that's the way that we're going to generally react. There's some of us that might kind of freeze up and not know what to do and be like, well, shit, what do I do? But my point is that for the most part, most of us are going to want to snap back, because this is where media comes in. A lot of media has scenes in TV shows and movies and things like that, where you have two characters and they're going back and forth, and one is basically telling the other one off, and we're thinking that shit is really powerful. And then we practice that in our actual lives instead of being strategic and doing something that's actually going to, like I said, get us a bag.
Right. And I think, to your point, what you just said, that's why this book, you guys, is so important. So if you're in the audience, make sure you hit the bro up for the book. It's a great book, and it talks about all of these things. It explains them in depth. It's very insightful. It's smartly written.
Appreciate
it. And this type of stuff is important for our generation now, like you said, not to fall into the trap of what the past generation just did. See, you doing this, and even the book that I'm writing in combination of just, these are the types of things that we have to do to now at least let the next generation know. And even if they're not listening to it now, these, you write a book, this is be around forever. So people can always get this, and they can always find it. And the more we have these shows and more you build your platform and we talk about it, and we keep bringing it to the forefront, the more it'll be harder for them to erase it, because we know that they're good at that. That's what they're trying to do now, erase everything. And rewrite it in the name of their victory, like they want to do all the time. So that's why we have to write books. We have to continue to do this. And I really love the way that you wrote the book. It's very witty, smart, the way, here's our boy Marcus.
What's up, Marcus?
He said he found this by luck. That is crazy work. You should be subscribed. Don't be finding me by luck. You better subscribe, because you supposed to be coming up here next. Talk about you found it by luck. I'm gonna get him for that.
I can't wait to see y'all's collaboration.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get with him. I'm gonna get with him. We're gonna get together. I'm gonna bring him on.
Most definitely.
I'm gonna bring him on, definitely. We have Teresa Miller. She said you always have to cover your own ace.
Oh,
we know what that means. We know, yes, Teresa. And a lot of the wifeys out here, they're saying, oh, wow, to the story that I told. That's crazy. That's crazy that happened. I was appalled when she told me that. I said to her, because you know how I am. I whispered in her ear, and I said, you should have said to her, if it wasn't for the education that we had, her ass wouldn't be here. That's what I would have said to her. She couldn't have said that to me. See, they know who to say stuff to too. Because you couldn't have said that to me, because I would have said that back to her. And I know you're saying go snapping up. Nah, she would have got that back.
I
You had
understand.
that, you had that energy to say that to me, and I would have said right back to you, you ought to be glad we got the education, because if not, your ass wouldn't be here. Now.
and see, that's how a lot of us would respond, because we're like, yo, you're not about to sit here and disrespect me. I feel it. I understand the energy. I do. The reason why I'm telling people to kind of draw
You're
back.
right. People shouldn't listen to me. You're right, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason why I'm telling people to draw back a little bit is because I want people to be able to know that type of stuff is unacceptable, and you actually can get a bag from people doing that. So, and this is another thing too. I didn't really talk about this in the book, but this is something that I think that a lot of us need to understand. When you are in the job space as a foundational Black American, you need to master the art of indifference. And let me explain what I mean by that.
Yes, please explain it. Please.
Yes, I got you. So you have to master the art of indifference, meaning you have to not be emotional when certain things happen. You know, something happened to this person, this coworker, that coworker. Okay. Somebody said something to you that was weird. Okay. You can approach them obviously and have a conversation, but make sure you got all your stuff documented. There's going to be this change or that change at the job. Okay. You have to master the art of indifference, because when you're emotional, that can make you make irrational decisions that could either get you fired from that job, and you may need that skill, like I said, or even the money, or it could get you in a place where you're not able to reap the benefits of the way that somebody mistreated you, especially if they think that you had did something back to someone, so there's ways that we're supposed to navigate this from a strategic standpoint, and we can't get emotional, because especially as Black men, we really can't get emotional. Because
maybe they'll call the cops on y'all and everything.
They do all types of shit. So like we really need to keep our stuff in check. Now with me, I'll admit I wouldn't say that I'm an emotional person, but I definitely am somebody who I'm pretty expressive. So even I had to check that about myself.
You are number 3. You are pretty expressive.
Yeah, I'm a pretty expressive person. Like I have emotional moments, like a lot of people do. Any man or woman, I have emotional moments, but I'm a pretty expressive person. So that's something I had to check even with myself. But it's a really important skill that will help you keep your job as long as you need to. I'm not saying like kiss ass and all this other shit.
Right.
I'm just saying that there's a certain behavior that you should have while you're at these jobs where you're not riled up and you can make rational decisions.
I think that's excellent advice, bro. And that's actually, it's such good advice. It's some advice that I could have took from you about 6 months ago. But it is what it is, and I'm still floating. So we do making it do what it do. But at the end of the day, you're right. And I think going through that experience that I actually went through before at the job, what you just said is what I've been doing. I didn't have to put it in words. You put it in words, and you made a title to it, like you always do. I love the way you name stuff and your tropes and agendas. And that's it. You have to be indifferent. And then what I did, what I told myself, I told myself, Queen, they don't like you. They don't like you. They don't with you. They don't, not the long way, not the short way, not any way. They don't mess with you like that.
They ain't your friends.
Once I told myself that, it changed my perspective of what I expected from them. See, because I think a lot of us go into these jobs, and the thing is, we're very smart, we're very intelligent people, and we have to be exceptional, right? We have to be exceptional to be in these roles, whereas some of them are mediocre and they get the role just by being who they are.
Oh yeah.
Right. So they get the role, they're mediocre, but we have to be exceptional. So by the time we get our exceptional self into the role, and we're dealing with all these mediocre people, we almost feel that sense of, well, we should have respect because we're exceptional. But you can't think like that.
Right.
Because they don't want you there. They hate your exceptionalism.
Yep.
It burns them up that you're exceptional. They want to do anything they can to take you off of that exceptional pedestal, because the minute they can knock you down even one notch, now they got you. because now they're going to hammer that on you, and you're never going to forget that you're off of that notch now.
Yeah.
Okay. But whether you're exceptional or not, you can't expect them to treat you with the respect that they're treating other people in their own, culture with, because they're just not going to do it. They don't like you. They don't want you there. So you just got to have that mindset that, hey, this is just a job. I'm here to do the job. I'm not here to, not saying make friends, but I'm not here to, gain, like nobody's respect or anything like that. You just here, do your job. That's it. Because at the end of the day, that's all they want you there for. And all that thinking that they're supposed to respect you and that they're supposed to include you and invite you and be nice to you and speak to you in the morning. They ain't doing that.
Right.
So you just setting yourself up for that own rejection and that own failure for putting yourself into that place to think that they're going to do that for you.
Most definitely. And that, like I said, that goes back to what we've been talking about, which is that, if you don't have a good teacher, then you're not going to know how to operate like that. Right. And that's why that's why it's important for me to create material and text where I can kind of teach people things that I've been learning from my experiences, because there's a lot of times where I observe things and I see a lot of things and have a lot of experiences. And, I try to, compartmentalize them and put them in where they need to be. And what I've been learning is that a lot of the stuff that we don't know as a group is because there have been, things that just have been not taught to us. And that's why I harp so much on the whole thing with the old niggas, is because these are things that they should have taught us, honestly. If you weren't going to give us businesses, if you weren't going to teach us how to thrive, how to create empires, how to create assets and all this other stuff, then the least you could have did was give us a sword to defend ourselves in a damn battlefield. Shit.
Right.
Like, that's my thing.
That's what I'm saying. At least prepare us with the knowledge of the mindset of the people that we're about to be, that you didn't thrust us into. Like, you thrust us into this community with these people, but you didn't tell us about the way they hate us, about the way that they used to hang us and lynch us and eat us and do all this. And I'm going to tell you one real quick story. I was on Facebook and I saw a reel on Facebook, and it was like an older white gentleman. It was like how they have the content people interviewing people or whatever. So the person was interviewing this older white gentleman, and he was saying something about, I forget what the guy was saying, something about, Black people, and I don't know who was being invited to the barbecue, or it was something along that line of what the person was asking to the older Black man. And then the older white man. And then the older white man said back to the reporter, "Oh no, I don't eat Black people anymore." And then when you looked in the comments, everyone was like acting like it was a joke.
Yeah.
I tore them. When I tell you I tore them up in them comments,
right.
I said, first of all, this is not a joke. I said, all of you people in these comments are showing your true selves. I said, it's not funny. I said, when they actually used to eat us, and you all think this is a joke?
Yeah.
It's not a joke. And they know it's not a joke.
Yeah.
And it's just this is what they do, though. But we don't get prepared for that.
Yeah.
That's not fair to us.
I'm with you. No, you're 100% justified in feeling that way, because I mean, like, it's kind of a shock that somebody could be that inhumane. But if you understand the nature of the white supremacists, that's kind of how they are. They kind of operate in being weasels and deceit and shit. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times, like, I've noticed this pattern of, you'll talk about something that is racist or something that is anti-Black. And a lot of times, like, you'll have like these white supremacist trolls who will come onto these platforms and they'll start laughing and giggling like a little schoolgirl with a mini skirt on and shit, because a lot of them will like try to deflect from the idea that you're talking about something serious. They know it's a serious thing and they don't have a rebuttal to it. So as a result, they get to trolling and saying shit that's really not all that witty, thinking they're witty, because they're trying to deflect from the fact that you're exposing them for the shit that they did. So they have a culture of doing that, like wanting to, laugh shit off and turn things into a joke and then call us victims. Cause I think you had said that word earlier, victims. They love to say that we're victims whenever we talk about racism or, them committing acts of white supremacy. That's a way to deflect and make it seem like what we're saying is us just whining, and we're crybabies who just, want to complain about things that are trivial.
Yeah, and that's why I like how you reference what the great Neely Fuller said, that we should never say it's a complaint, a grievance, or a gripe. We
Yep,
should call it reporting. And that's what
exactly.
this is. We are reporting and on our experience of white supremacy, racism, and as the dominant society that runs this world. So
Absolutely.
that's what we are. We're reporters.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're not whiners or complainers. We're reporters on the climate of white supremacy, since that's where we exist. It's important for us to understand that. And, for all of us who are codified, we have to keep that in mind whenever we're talking about these things, because there'll be a lot of people that'll go around and say that, why are we complaining? And why are we saying this? We're victims and this and that. And I tune all that shit out, because I know that, we're talking about something that's still actually going on. It's and to me, like, there's a difference between, like, I'm complaining about something trivial and I'm complaining because of a systemic practice that we live in that you're practicing. It's different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So talk about now, bro. Talk about let's talk a little bit more about your platform and what you do
Yeah.
there at Kolash Universe. So I know everything is kind of based on this education, entertainment, and empowerment. Talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that and how, why you chose those 3 E's. It's so
Yes.
funny you chose 3 E's. And talk about that and talk a little bit about your platform.
Got you. So my platform is called Cool Colas, or the Cool Colas brand. There's a lot of variations of the name. People will say Cool Colas LLC, Cool Colas brand, Cool Colas, whatever you want to say, that's what it is. The Cool Colas brand is a certified pro-Black platform. And the whole idea is to do two things. The first thing is to expose the anti-Blackness and racism that happens towards Black people, especially foundational Black Americans, in media. And while exposing these things that we see in media, the other side of it, part number two, is for me to create content for media, for TV shows, movies, and things like that, that portray us in a way that we deserve to be portrayed. So I use the 3 E's: education, entertainment, and empowerment to basically show the main three things that I'm trying to embody through my platform. So I want my content to be entertaining. So I want to obviously create nerdy things and things that center around Black people, but are like, it's like blurred culture. I also want to be educational, because I want to talk about history through the things that I actually create, and create allegories that actually teach us about ourselves and the things that we've actually done. So that's a big part of, a lot of the stories that I actually create. And empowerment is a result of the combination between education and entertainment as it manifests in those who consume my content. So that's the main thing that I wanted to get from these 3 E's. And that's the husk of also what the Cool Colas brand is about too.
I love it. I love it. Like, give me 1 second. I'm going to share this screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to talk when I'm doing it, because sometimes it gets choppy.
It's all good.
So guys, I just went to his website. I want you guys all to make sure you visit Cool Cola's website. It's coolcolas.com. Of course, when this video updates for tomorrow, you can go back into the description. All of his links will be there, and this video will be cut up into the section, so you can go back and watch any section that you missed or that you want to see. And this is his website. Now, also talk about you being a speaker, because you're also a speaker. So talk about some of the things you do with your speaking engagements and all of that. Talk to the people about that. This beautiful website, bro. Beautiful.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I wanted to embody the colors, the red, the black, and whatnot. But
you did it.
Yep.
And look, I got both of his books.
You did. Yes, you did. Yep.
This is what we do. We support each other, family. I want
y'all
to go support this brother's books. All my family that's in this audience right now, I want y'all to go to coolcolas.com and support his books. You can get either one, but I think this exposing the anti-Black media tropes is the most important right now, especially given the current climate in America and globally that we're dealing with these different situations. Look at that. Look at my bro. So proud of you.
Appreciate it.
Um, Go ahead, talk about your speaking engagements and what kind of things do you do on your speaking engagements?
Most definitely. So
Topic.
I've thrown speeches and I've actually done a lecture as well too at a university. So as far as my speeches, the main topics I'll talk about are either pro-blackness or they're related to looking at anti-black tropes. So I've done a speech on talking about reparations and how that works, how we achieve it, what that looks like in America. I've also done a speech on black excellence, and I've talked about what real black excellence is, like not this kind of symbolic term you always hear about, but how it really should be defined. I've also done lectures. I've done a lecture on anti-black tropes in media, broke it down from the beginning of where it starts at, and then took it to where you can look at different examples and whatnot. With my speeches, the main thing that I want to do is teach people about pro-blackness, anti-blackness as well too. And I also want to give people important skills that will help them to navigate society as a black person. You know, all of these things are important because we have these platforms that we create obviously online, like we talk on YouTube, we talk on Instagram and places like that, but we need to be able to bring a lot of our talents and knowledge to the mainstream the best way that we can. So I'm constantly developing my speeches and also my brand in general to include things that help people to gain, you know, valuable skills. It's not just a thing of me telling you, hey, you should embrace your culture, you should understand it, but I also want to give real skills that people can tangibly use that will help them in society. So that's what I'm all about. You know, I have other paraphernalia as she's showing you as well too. I have some brand stuff. I have some t-shirts, cups, bookmarks, books. I got it all. So there's going to be more stuff to come, but there's already a lot there at this point.
Yes, there's a lot here. So I want to make sure the family gets over to this website. So if you can't get the book right now, get a mug, get a t-shirt, support his brands. Please support this brother's brand. And then I'm going to just show real quick because I have it up. There's his YouTube. He has very, very great content, you guys, on his YouTube. I just watched the wrestling thing the other day. I sent it to one of the girls that I know that likes wrestling. I was like, I think you'll enjoy this. This is my boy doing this. So very, very dope channel. He's very consistent. Look at your girl up there.
Yep.
Look at your girl Queen Bee up there right there in the middle of those wrestlers on that Cool Colas website. So yeah, this is me on his platform. So if you want to catch the show that I did on his platform, you could do that. Here's some of his stuff on his YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to his YouTube. Just type in @Cool-Colas and hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. And then here's his Instagram. You can follow him on Instagram @Cool-Colas. And here we go. So I love that you're staying with your red and black. Your branding looks great, bro.
Appreciate
Everything looks top notch. So, you know, I want to make sure that the family is following you and they have everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I get all of those links in the description box for when the video updates, but that'll be like the first thing in the morning. I joined the community earlier.
Most
So
definitely.
I already did that.
Says, you mind if I
take
talk
that
about
down and get all that?
I'm sorry.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get this. Let me remove this, bro, before you start talking so it don't muffle you. Hold on.
No, you're good.
There we go. And then hold on. Let me get us back up here. All right. Of course. I was just showing you off. So, you know, you're welcome to say whatever you want to continue to say. Go ahead. You got it. It's all yours.
Of course. Yeah. So the other thing too, so right now I have I don't know if you call it coffee or Ko-Fi. It's the KO-FI. So I have one right now. I'm doing crowdfunding right now where I'm trying to raise money for a comic book that I'm going to be creating. And so as of right now, I'm trying to raise $5,000. At the moment, I have 4,000. So I just need 1,000. The site won't reflect it, but I'm putting my own proceeds into this as well too. But I'm raising money for a comic book called the Flamer comic that I'm creating right now. And the whole idea is to have these characters who are humanoid elemental beings, and they fight crime on their planet. They fight demons. They fight other like beings. They're called abilitons. They fight other abilitons, and they fight other creatures who try to invade the planet. In this comic book, there will be a lot of allegories on race, and a lot of these different abilitons. They'll have different races that are basically shown by whatever element, we're going to use that for lack of better words, that they are. So, for example, Flamer is of the fire race. He has a friend who was an electricity race character. He has a friend who was a water race character, and all of their powers represent races. But you'll see a lot of allegories throughout this comic book when I'm telling the story. So if you want to see more of this and you want to see it really come to fruition, then I hope y'all are able to donate, support, and help me to get this off the ground, because it's definitely going to be a hot one.
Yes, so absolutely, we're going to get people to donate. And what I'm going to do, bro, send me that link.
Yeah.
Send it to me.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then I'll make sure I put that. Yep, just send it to me, and I'll make sure I put that link. And you can send it now if you want in the back page, and I'll put it in the chat. But just send it to me in general on the text, so I can put it in the description box when the video updates for tomorrow.
Yeah, let me do that right now.
Okay. And then also what I'm going to be doing, bro, is when I'm doing the other shows and stuff,
Yeah.
I will be showing that one photo that I showed you when you came on. And I'm going to get that link up, and I'm going to be telling people to go to that link to help crowdfund. So I'm going to be promoting that on the shows. Okay. Like
Cool.
as at the beginning of every show, I'll be doing that.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, appreciate it.
Let me get this. You put it right here. Let me copy it. Hold on, let me open it, and then I'll copy it. And then I'm going to be donating to this as well. So I'm going to be donating to this also, family. So let me put the link in here to coolcolascoffee.com, crowdfunding for you. You heard him. First of all, you just heard the whole interview. You see that the brother is not a joke about writing books. You see this? It's his first book, The Rim Realm, Curse of a Billionaire by Cool Colas. And then his second book, The Pro-Black Blurred Series, Exposing Anti-Black Tropes the Blurred Way, Cool Colas. And I can tell you that these are both very thick books. The brother is very smart. He's a number 3 person. He's an earth sign fire number. He's got that stable, passionate, disciplined energy. So he's going to bring you a fire comic book. You hear? First of all, I'm already in on it when I heard him say that the things is elements. And I know of that because he told me that before. But support this, family. Support it. All I can tell you is to support this brother, because this is what we got to do. We got to support each other.
Most
like
definitely.
I said before, no more begging to sit at tables. We make our own table.
Most definitely.
Right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Let me put this up here. So this is the website, you guys. And I'm going to make sure I get it in the description so people can click it, because people will help. They will donate to this. Teresa Miller, I just subscribed to your channel. Cool Colas. Thanks, Queen B. Thank you, Queen. She's a gem. Yeah, she's a gem of a person. Very sweet queen. So I want to really thank you, brother, for coming back on the platform.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for having me.
Yep, I'm so happy to have you back. And anytime you want to come back on the platform, it's yours to come back on. Let's think of something else. So let's think of something we can do and collab, and maybe we can do it and we can simulcast it on both of our platforms.
Most definitely.
Coming up. And I need you, and I don't know if you did it before, but whether you did or you didn't, just charge it to my head, not my heart. I need you to send me Marcus's information. Send it to me on text so I don't lose it in Instagram. Yeah, I think if I had it on Instagram before. Send me his info, because I want to get him on as soon as possible.
Most definitely.
So I want to really thank everybody for being here. This has been an episode of Justice on Earth, where we had Cool Colas, the Black blurred king. He is the pro-Black voice of media. I want you guys to make sure that you're following him on all of his social media accounts. Support his books, support his merch, and support his crowdfunding for his new comic book. Any last words you want to say, bro, before we get out of here?
Last thing I do want to say, so I didn't get to talk about it too much, but I actually am in the process of working on a couple different books. One is fiction, one is nonfiction, but I will say the one that's fiction is a Black sci-fi book. Can't talk about the title, but I did want to give y'all that real quick. It is going to be coming out in the kind of near future.
Okay, you heard it on BEETV first.
Mm-hmm.
That's a BEETV exclusive. Hold on, let me see. Do I got a bomb ready? I'm almost about to make you say it again. That's a BEETV exclusive. There you go. So I want to thank you for sharing that with our Universal Supreme. And again, when that book does come out, you know you got to come right back here to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
And talk about whatever else you want to talk. Whenever you want to come on, you can come on. Because I enjoy having you on, and I'm excited to come back on your platform soon too.
Sounds good. Yeah, I enjoy being on.
Yep. So I want to thank you so much. I want to say peace and love to the Universal Supreme. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And remember, always put your 7D cap on. That's your cultural ascension principles. Make sure you are delineating, dedicating your time, having discussions, using discernment, documenting, developing, and deploying. This is our 7D cap. It's critical thinking, and this is Justice on Earth. I want to say peace, love, kings and queens up to the Universal Supreme. We out.
Queens up in your hood because it's a